Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. You end up creating a dimensional rift that can link the human world with the demon world. We are in the anime, The Immortal King, Season 2. Episodes 1, 2 and 3. The Spirit Sword Tournament did not reach its long-awaited final, due to Jian Lu Yin planning to eliminate Sun Rong, and at the competition site, an abnormal tsunami of energy was detected, causing the world's total spirit strength value to drop to 4.8. At Wang Ling's high school, we saw that the school was ranked in the top 10 after the preliminaries against 59 High. The students were back in class after a long summer vacation. Instructor Pan informs all the students in the elite class that with the outcome of the tournament, the education department required a new spiritual strength test and that those who didn't get a sufficient score went back to the regular class. At that very moment, Sun Rong, Chen Zhao and Kuo Hao worry about their friend Ling, who, due to his low power, might not be with them after the exam, so they volunteer to help the young man train and increase his energy. But he ignores the whole situation, not seeming to care much about the new spiritual test. In the bathroom, the sword spirit of the protagonist appears and asks him if he is worried about the test, but his master informs him that the tests are only for status and not strength, but says that it will be difficult to contain all his power. Kuo Hao mysteriously appears behind Ling and says he can help him with any problems. The young man then explains that during the vacation he discovered how to make new pills and that if the two of them worked together beforehand they could make some before the tests, and with them their spiritual energies would explode to the maximum. Wang Ling then asks his friend if he has an average score to still be in the elite class. He then tries to disguise it with a smile on his face, but immediately falls on the feet of the protagonist asking for his help to create the power pills. After all, his parents would be enraged if he was expelled after the tests. The trotting frog, who was resting quietly somewhere in the college, is found by the two classmates who would need his firepower to speed up the process of creating the pill. The second test is then announced by the college instructor. He explains that the test would be done with the green dog, but no one has been able to find it and the exam would be done differently. The teacher then explains how the test will be done. The students must go to the center of a platform and there they will have to concentrate all their spiritual energy. Based on their power, a dense black cloud will form over their heads and then it will shoot a lightning bolt at the student. Those who are hit and their bodies don't explode pass the test. The students are terrified by this explanation, but the instructor explains that the proving ground has a safety level to control the voltage of the electricity and that even if there was an accident, the health professionals were ready for anything. The students are then called in order of their classes. The first to take the exam is Ku Zan from the first class. The young man is struck by lightning when he begins the exam, but does not survive, and is then taken to the hospital. At this moment we see that Sun Rong is worried about Wang Ling, since she hasn't seen her friend yet at the test site. Chen Zhao then replies that she shouldn't worry, since Kuo Hao was looking for him at that moment and that his class would be the last to pass the exam. In the distance, we observe the pill creation room being used. The green dog was already exhausted after using its fire energy to accelerate the pill creation. Kuo Hao explains to Ling that the pills take effect for only an hour and they should take them immediately before the test. The whole situation reminds him of the trouble he got into with his friend last semester, where they took a class on refining and Wang Ling saved his skin by exchanging his work with his. From that moment on the two struck up a friendship. Just then, the two of them hear Instructor Pan's footsteps coming from the hallway. Kuo Hao goes into despair at that moment, not knowing what to do, so Ling calmly approaches the young man with a bucket of water and pours it over the two of them. The supervisor enters the room and observes the two students drying their clothes. She gets angry and asks what the two students were doing in that room without their clothes and why they were not in the testing area. The young man then explains that he and his friend fell in the pool and were drying their shirts. She then realizes that there is something inside one of the furnaces and immediately goes to check it out. Wang Ling signals to the green dog and it runs towards the instructor, knocking her down with several licks on her face. Kuo Hao takes advantage of the situation and immediately removes the pills from the furnace. The examiner Pan then gets rid of the dog by giving it a few blows. She then checks what was inside the furnace and comes across the young man's socks, so the supervisor asks the two of them to go to the exam site as soon as they are dry. Wang Ling then asks where his friend kept the pills and Kuo Hao says that he swallowed them both, at which point he exudes incredible energy throughout his body, having his hair transformed into a golden shade, turning into a true Super Saiyajin. Due to that immense power, his body swells to the point that he can't stand at all. Ling decides to help him and with a slap on his back, the young man deflates quickly and then faints. The young man then is woken up by his friends at the testing ground and is quickly informed that he is next for the exam. He then heads to the platform, but is surprised, since the effect of the pills had already passed more than an hour. Kuo Hao, already disappointed with his probable result, concentrates his energy and immediately receives the lightning over his head. but incredibly the young man suffers no injuries and passes the test. So we learn that the slap Ling gave his friend caused this effect on his body, making him resist all electricity. The protagonist is then called to the testing ground, but before entering he receives a helmet from his instructor. Since his energy was so low, he could take serious damage performing the test. Ling then concentrates his power and a huge black cloud quickly takes over the sky of the entire city, causing the entire region to be without power due to the high electricity he was receiving in his body through the lightning. The instructor then tries to shut down the test field with other students, but is unsuccessful, at which point, on a space station, crew members report that spiritual strength has dropped again, now to 4.7. Ling, observing the whole situation, throws his spirit sword at Sun Rong, and at that moment they both enter a time ring and the protagonist tells his friend that his wooden weapon was insulating and that with it he could end it all. The girl then delivers a cut that breaks the energy of the test field, but its force was so great that it caused damage in several parts of the planet. Wang Ling passed the exam, but that incident was classified as a system malfunction. Then we learned that with the blow that Sun Rong applied with the spirit sword, she was able to open a crack in space, and through this crack the world of humans was connected with another space, and in the midst of that dark world, we observed for the first time, an unknown figure sitting on a throne. This being from another world is the Emperor of the Demons, who realized that a rift had been created between the abyss, the place where he lives, and the human world. He remembers that he sent one of the demon kings to conquer that place. His servant confirms that the giant toad, who was also his fiercest disciple, had been sent to Earth 3 demon years ago and until that moment had not introduced the human world to his lord. The Emperor then questions what he was doing up to this very moment, at which point we see that the green dog is resting and is being petted by the students in the class. The master of the trotting frog then decides to personally go to the human world to find out what the current situation was. The green dog then receives a notification, advising of his guardian's visit. Immediately he decided to go to Wang Ling's house. Apparently he was afraid of the visit he would soon receive. At school, Instructor Pan questions Ling's score and has the idea of making a home visit to the young man to understand more about his spiritual power. At that moment, a portal is opened above the college and the master of the trotting frog finally arrives in the human world. The green dog then realizes his presence and ignores his messages, but his guardian manages to track him through a very macabre GPS. Wang Ling's sword spirit appears and asks the demon king who his master is. The dog then answers that his tutor is the aggregator of all the wisdom of the demon world, a being who has lived 1,000,000 years, thus much older than the universe, making him immortal. During the family dinner, Ling's father says that he is programming a new seal to put on the young man, since the current one leaves his speech abilities a bit confused, so by late afternoon his son was ready to receive the new seal. With the help of the trotting frog, his father begins the procedures for removing the old seal and implanting the new one. The process to remove it was completed successfully, but when the demon king implanted the new object to seal Wang Ling's energy, he ended up placing it upside down. As a result of this terrible mistake, the young man began to speak a totally strange language that made no sense at all. The young man's father questions the green dog about the position he should put it in, and the green dog replies that he was color blind so he got the position wrong. A great amount of energy starts to be released from Ling's body and his father, unable to do anything else, only accepts the end of the universe, but immediately the trotting frog jumps on the protagonist's neck and devours all that power, becoming completely exhausted. Meanwhile, the master of the demon king leaves his trail wherever he goes, in order to find his runaway pupil once and for all. Later that day, Instructor Pan arrives at Wang Ling's home for a home visit, and the young man surprises everyone by greeting his teacher in a loud voice and speaking normally. The teacher then cuts to the chase, saying that her student's score was low last semester, claiming that he didn't finish all the assignments for the summer vacation, didn't do well in pill refining practice, and doesn't show any interest in his studies. The young man then completely refutes his instructor, showing that he did all his lessons, refined the pills and finished by performing a reanimation magic on his pencils and erasers, giving life to each of them. The teacher Pan is surprised with all that dedication of her student and the young man's father takes advantage of this moment to ask his wife to distract the coordinator until he can remove that seal and put another one on. So it was done. While Wang Ling's mother showed the whole house to the visitor, he and the trotting frog tried to effect the exchange of seals again, and this time it was successful. The young man returned to speaking normally in his casual tone, but now all the furniture and electronics in the house created a life of their own. The protagonist then holds up the green dog as his energy weapon, using it to contain the magic that was present in those objects. The trotting frog fires a shot at one of those objects and thus manages to immobilize it. Wang Ling's mother at this point tells the instructor a little about her son's childhood and says that she doesn't care if he will be an excellent student with high grades, but the important thing was to see him happy every day of his life. After they immobilize all the animate objects, the seal that was on Ling begins to malfunction and, afraid that that energy might come out again, the young man's father asks the green dog to help by devouring the energy that comes out of his son. The trotting frog in turn, was surrounded by tremendous fear. Since he used his power so much, his master managed to locate him once and for all. He immediately arrives at the protagonist's house. He opens the door and at that moment the young man's father removes his seal to dissipate all that power that was wanting to get out. Then a tremendous beam of energy comes out of Wang Ling's body, hitting the master of the green dog full on, who upon receiving that huge beam, is evaporated in a matter of seconds along with a part of a mountain that was near the place. At the end of that evening, Instructor Pan bids farewell to the family saying that from now on she will not judge her students only by their academic grades, but by their education and emotional growth. The green dog finally wakes up after having fainted from the whole situation, saying that he intends to return home, and when he gets up he finds a part of his master's staff on the floor. He then finally understands what happened. On another day at school, the group of friends are discussing an accident that occurred in the vicinity of the town, involving a powerful swordswoman who was named as the world's #1 Terminator. She was also gifted with great beauty and is suspected to have survived the accident and is living nearby. After class begin, Instructor Pan introduces a new student to the whole class. Her name is Lin Xiaoyu, but at that moment Wang Ling and his sword spirit realize that they have seen this girl somewhere before and she looks very familiar. Meanwhile, Instructor Wang is on a capture mission together with the elite squad of hero Zhou Yi. His target is Jian Lu Yu, a member of a criminal group. The examiner finally finds his target, but just as he was about to arrest her, he is surprised by a gigantic bomb. That was just a distraction. The real assassin was positioned high above the school, waiting for the perfect moment to free her sister who had been arrested. Yes, folks, Jian Lu Yu is the sister of the assassin Jian Lu Yin, the same one who tried to eliminate Sun Rong all this time and who was sealed away in the college underground. The trio of friends then comment on the assassin's arrest, and speculate that she was arrested and sealed underground, since the same location also served as a prison for the trotting frog. Walking through the school, they come across a figure of a woman walking through the halls and immediately go after her. As they entered the room where they had seen her enter, they realized that there was no one in that place, but that someone lived in a small part of that room. Wang Ling warns his friends that someone is approaching and they all hide under a table. Who enters the room is the new student who had just enrolled in school. The girl then starts to remove her school uniform, but as they realize this, Chen Zhao hits his head on the table and comes out from his hiding place with Kuo Hao. The girl then yells at the two, calling them both perverts and that they should leave that place immediately. They try to explain themselves, but she, very angry, throws a feather duster in their direction and hits a statue that has its head rotated with the impact. That somehow activated a device that made the three students fall into a secret passage that was in that room. Wang Ling, who was still hiding, comes out from under the table and goes towards his friends. The sisters finally meet and Jian Lu Yin finally expects to be saved, but Lu Yu says that she is not there to save her but to eliminate her since she has not fulfilled her mission to assassinate Sun Rong. And in the midst of that family affair, the students speed past them, heading for the gigantic abyss that was there. Ling's sword spirit then opens a portal to a safe room, where they all fall bewildered, not knowing where they are. At that moment they realize they were in the Terminator's hideout and come across a huge mural full of clues. We then learn about Lu Yu's past. She met her beloved on one of her missions and immediately fell in love with the young man. The woman then became the leader of the Shadow faction and her life was completely perfect, until the day of the incident, where she was pulled through a portal that took her to the demon world, being trapped there for 10 years. She then accuses her sister of being responsible for that accident, only to assume the position of leader of the criminal group. Jian Lu Yin claims that she really wanted to take the leadership position for herself, but that she was not the one who caused the incident. The assassin, already out of patience, decides to end it by shooting a powerful energy-wrapped arrow at her sister in her direction, but the instructor Wang holds the shooting object. The students then try to connect the facts of the events that will occur 10 years ago. Through this we know the truth of why all that was happening. 10 years ago, Toad the Trotting Frog appeared in the city sky through a huge portal, causing chaos and destruction throughout the region. At that moment the plane where Lu Yu and her lover were, was flying over the city of attack. The Demon King then prepared his huge attack, but Wang Ling prevented him from destroying everything, hitting him with a kick with all his energy in his mouth. The attack then went to the sky, and thus destroyed part of the plane. As Lu Yu was without her seatbelt, she was pulled through the portal where the demon frog came out. Ling then used part of his power to save the people on the plane, getting everyone to land safely. Lu Yu's beloved promised that he would wait for her forever and ever, and so he founded a base at that place, which today is the 60 High School. Yes folks, Instructor Wang was and is Lu Yu's beloved, he has been waiting for her all this time. He then confesses to his beloved that in order to relieve the pain of having lost her, he took it all out on food and in this way changed his appearance. The two kiss and remember their old romantic promises. While Jian Lu Yin was bored and angry about the whole situation, the couple then leaves that place with a flying sword while the assassin remains trapped in that cage. How many more plot twists will we see in this anime? What about Instructor Wang? Will his relationship with Lu Yu really return, even though she is a criminal leader? So, what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.